Welcome back to W.Heirs, where the W stands for wealthy and the heirs is self-explanatory. Today, I'm going to walk you through a wholesale deal that netted us almost $40,000. Guy comes to me, and I ain't gonna say a guy, I would say it was a gentleman that we were doing some work with, and we're supposed to be doing a hotel deal with later on this year before this whole coronavirus thing happened, right? And he's got this project because he's got to get money fast, right? Now, mind you, this guy, we'll call him, his name Tim. Tim is not the seller of the wholesale deal, but he knows the seller. So he brings me the deal. He calls me and say, "Hey, Dennis, I need we need about $25,000 in 48 hours. I said, okay. Are you looking for a loan? He said, no, I'm not looking for a loan. We need that flat out. I was like, well, there ain't nobody on earth, unless they grew up with you and know you personally, gonna give you $25,000 just out of nowhere. It's like, well, what you got, man? I mean, what you got to trade? I mean, I can't bring this to an investor and it's like, give him nothing. That don't make no sense. It's okay, I got this house over in Colonial Town. I said, all right, great. What's it like? He said, well, I'll come over there and tell you the deal. So he comes over, and little do I know, he actually has the seller with him. And I didn't know that at the time, but I found out later. And so we talk about the deal. He says the house is worth $260, hands down. You know, it's the best house on the block, blah, blah, blah. You know how they do. And I was like, okay. He said he had a couple of real estate agents come over and show him the value. And he knows for sure that he can get $260 for this house. So that's great. So what's the deal? And so he says, listen, we need $25,000 by tomorrow. And I was like, well, I don't really know how to get you that $25,000 by tomorrow, you know, and you want $265 total for the house. It's just not gonna work. You know, he says, well, what's the all cash price? I said, I don't know. I said, I can talk to a couple of investors, but for me, if it was me, I'm thinking 170. And he says, no, there's no way, it's worth 260. It's like, but you need 25,000 like right now. That means I have to give you money trusting that you're gonna come to closing for this property. And so I get on the phone, I call one of my real estate buddies and told him what the deal was. And he was like, well, you know, let's sit down with him and see what we can work out. So the next day, we go over to the seller's house. We sit down with the seller, and Tim, he is not the seller, but he is the decision maker. So in these wholesale deals, that's number one. You got to find the motivation. We know his motivation is he needs money now, right? Number two, you got to find out who the decision maker is. In this case, it's not the seller. The seller trusts his friend, the decision maker, which is Tim. So it's kind of tough negotiating with the seller when your decision maker is your friend trying to coach you on this thing, right? And so we sat down, we talked. Decision maker says the lowest we'll go is $220 for the house. And I was like, oh, you still need 25 up front? He's like, yeah. I was like, nah, that's not gonna work. So we go outside, we talk about it. Look at the house. The house is in great condition. Good for the market. And I agree. At market, if it had grass in there, the inside wasn't torn up, but the entire yard needed grass. And it was a decent lot. You could actually build in the back and make a whole other unit, make it a duplex, right? And so we go outside, me and my partner go out and talk. Say, listen, man, I'm thinking we should just come back and, you know, give us our best offer. And he suggested, you know, we come back around like 5 o'clock, give them time to think about it. It's like, all right, that makes sense. So we left, we come back 5 p.m. and say, listen, this is our highest and best, man. We can give you $15,000 and 180. 15,000 up front and 180 for the property. He goes, 185 is the lowest I go. I was like, bruh, you pulling for straws now. Needing so much money up front just makes no sense. It makes absolutely no sense. And we said, okay, listen, we're gonna give you. Oh, he comes back and he says, this is Tim now. Comes back and says, no, we really need the 25,000 because we got X, Y, Z. We need the money so we can get to Costa Rica. And now the real reason comes out. We got to get to Costa Rica because I got some businesses over there, and it's kind of tying up $24 million. I'm like, wait, what? $24 million? How? Hold up. Why do you need $25,000 up front if you got a deal for $24 million overseas? I'm like, why don't you just negotiate your fees and whatever it's costing you for your business into the $24 million that's coming? It just don't make sense to me. He gave some more BS, so we were like, all right, cool. Here's what's gonna happen. We'll give you 20,000, 10 up front, and 10 in 15 days. But you will have to quit claim deed the property on the same day that we sign the contract, because we got to have a stake in the game. It doesn't make sense for us to do a deal, give you 20,000 up front, and not have any type of sureties that you would even come back, or the seller would even come back to sign the paperwork to close. What if he get locked up or he die over in Puerto Rico? I mean, Costa Rica. It's no benefit for us. So that's what happened. We gave him, on day of signing, we gave him 10 grand. The seller now, the non-decision maker, the seller signed a quitclaim deed to the property. You know, we still agreed to buy it for 180, right? So what ended up happening is, technically, with that 10 grand and him signing a quitclaim deed, technically we bought the property for 10 grand and don't have to pay him nothing more than just that. But that's not the right thing to do. Some wholesalers would do that. Stick the seller in the bag and say, screw you, I'm gonna take the extra money and just bounce. So what we ended up doing was, after they got the 20 grand, fast forward towards closing, right? This guy comes back 7 days before closing. We found a buyer. The buyer was going to buy it for $210, and the average in the area for cash deals about $215. We got $4.2 there, right? So it's pretty good. It's a pretty good spread. And something that you're probably not going to know is, when you quit claim a deed and now it's in your company's name, you can actually take a finance buyer now, because your name is showing on the title and there's no need for an assignment. You don't have to assign anything, because now the property is in your name within, I think it was like 10 to 14 business days. The property is in their name. So having a conventional buyer investment loan, there was no problem. Thank God all this happened before the coronavirus thing kicked off, right? And so we ended up closing. Before we closed, he came back 7 days before closing and was like, hey man, we need $4,000 more. I'm like, man, what the hell what is going on? He's like, yeah, if you want us to move out on time, we need another $4,000. I was like, well, that was the purpose of giving you 20, so you can go handle your business in Costa Rica and get your 24 million. I don't see the complication here. He's like, yeah, but we got to get leases, and they're not taking the leases unless the seller is here, and blah, blah, blah. I was like, listen, man, me and my partner in the real estate business, we understand leases. Give us the address of where you're trying to move, and we'll talk to the agent and tell him, hey, we are scheduled to close. He will have the money for his down payment and security deposit, things of that nature. He'll have it in time. And he was like, no, we don't want to do that. We'd rather handle this ourselves. And I was like, okay, well, just tell them you got to close it in 7 days and you'll have them their money. It's like, you're not understanding me. You don't get it. We're going to lose this house if we don't give them, X amount of money, or $4,000 by tomorrow. And I was like, okay, well, here's what we're gonna do. I need you to send me over the lease that you have signed, stating that you're gonna stating it costs this amount of money to move in, and we will talk to the agent and show him that you'll be able to do it. I was like, but unless you give me hard evidence that you have something under contract, I can't get the investor to give you another $4,000. It just don't make sense. They're just not going to take your word for it. And he was like, well, we don't have anything under contract right now. It's just some things that we're interested in. I'm like, man, you're being difficult for no reason whatsoever. So 7 days before closing, this guy's still trying to egg out some more money, man. But those are the type of things that you're going to run into. You got to be prepared on how to handle it. Always ask for proof. I have a pure philosophy of truth will help every situation. Truth will bring out all the ugly. Truth will bring out the lies. The truth will get the deal done. The more truthful you are, the more flexible people become. So in this deal, yes, we got it under contract for $180. There was some discrepancies between him and the investor, my buddy of mine. Apparently there was a side conversation made with the seller that dropped it down to $170, because we did end up giving them $2,500, not $4,000, but $2,500, so that they can move out on time and the new buyers can move in. So $170, $180, we sold it for $210. We paid a realtor commission of $2,000, and we net about $38,000. I mean, if you're doing the math, yes, it's 58, but you got to minus the 20 initial 20 that we put in, and the additional $2,500. He paid another $750 on top of it for that advance too. So it comes out to about $58,000, or $38,000. So if you are in the wholesale game, yes, wholesaling can be very profitable, but understand it's gonna come with some crazy people, because this is the brokest millionaire I have ever met in my life. I've never met a millionaire that had $1 million potential in business and not have friends to reach out to for $20,000. It just didn't make sense to me.